Oil tankers were never my thing. I always thought that everybody was wound up a little bit too tight. But if you need money, you take anything going anywhere. I'm the Saipan Sailor, and this is Chapter 6 of the Tramp. Before I get started on the rest of the story, and I keep forgetting to say this, if you like my stories, please subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you think I suck. Leave a comment down there in the comment section. Any kind of popularity is better than none. If I bore you to death, well, tell me so. But stick around if you like my stories. Okay, that tanker was called the Worth, and I can't remember what company. Actually, originally I thought it was Maritime Overseas, but I may be mistaken. But it was a San Clemente class tanker, and there were several of its kind. I sailed on one other San Clemente, which was a Maritime Overseas ship, the Overseas Chicago. They're pretty nice. The engine room, pretty good size, but the control console is out in the open, and it wasn't enclosed with an air-conditioned room. Anyway, we left Wilmington, headed for Singapore, and maybe a day or so before we got in Singapore, the captain received a change of orders. We were not going to dock in Singapore. We were only going to slow down and come to a stop. They had stores that they were going to load, and a couple of Navy people were coming on board to do an inspection, because from there, and we were only going to be there about 3 or 4 hours, we were going to go straight to Abu Dhabi and load up with oil for the Navy. And that's what we did. So much for Singapore. We were headed for the Persian Gulf. Well, some of the stores that they took on included a bunch of Tiger beer. Now, Tiger beer is a Singaporean beer. It's only a 2.3% beer, as I remember correctly. And after they took on stores, the captain said that there was one case missing, and he was going to do a room search. And he did a room search, and he didn't find that case of beer. And so, kind of remind me of Mutiny on a Bounty, Commander Quigg. I'll find those strawberries, Well, a couple of days after we left Singapore, remember the steward apartment was this Puerto Rican kid from New York. He came to me because I got along with him pretty well, and he liked me, And he said, he was a steward assistant. He said, "Hey, you remember the captain did a room search looking for that case of beer that came missing?" I said, "Yeah, it went missing out of the stores." He says, "Yeah, he never found it because I got it." I says, You took that case of beer? He said, yeah. And so he brought the case of beer to my room. We stocked my fridge with it. And for the next 4 or 5 days, he and I drank that whole case. Slowly. And I let him dispose of the empty cans. Well, we got to Abu Dhabi, loaded up with oil, and we headed for Houston. And it was, I think, Sabine Pass, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. We went all the way to Houston. We went around Saudi Arabia, up the Red Sea, through the Suez Canal, across the Mediterranean, through the Straits of Gibraltar, across the Atlantic, down around Florida in a hole in the wall. And 87 days after signing on board that ship, no one got ashore. And we anchored about 80 miles offshore of Houston. And everybody, except for one guy in the deck department, bailed. And that guy that stayed on the ship, he was going to retire anyway, so he didn't care what ship he was on or what. So we all got on the launch after we were relieved and got paid off. And that launch took us into Houston. And I got into a cab and went out to the airport, checked into a hotel. At the airport in Houston. That hotel had a restaurant on the very top that rotated, revolved. So I booked a flight back to Detroit, and I went up to that restaurant because I wanted a good steak dinner. Now here's where it gets exciting. Took the elevator up to the restaurant. Told the maitre d' I'd like a table. They said, okay, have a seat at the bar, have a drink. We'll let you know when the table's ready. So I went to the bar and I sat there and I ordered a drink. On my left was this dark-haired beauty, and she was hammered. I mean, I could tell she was drunk. She was kind of hunched over, and they had these little oval baskets with popcorn, you know, on the bar. Well, the one she had in front of her didn't have any popcorn left, and she was actually crunching on the unpopped kernels. And I kept looking at her out of the corner of my eye. Well, a minute later, this bombshell blonde came and sat next to me on my right, and she ordered a drink. And so I struck up a conversation with her because at least she seemed sober. Her night was just getting started. A minute later, the lady on my left went to the bathroom. You can see 2 bathrooms off to the left. She went in there and was in there 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I said to this lady I was talking to, who turned out to be a flight attendant, at least that's what she told me. I said, you know, that lady went in the bathroom, she's still in there? And she wasn't paying attention. She, really? Anyway, I forgot about her. She'd probably passed out. So my table was ready, and I invited this lady to come have dinner with me. She said, sure. So we sat and had dinner. She was flying back to Miami, I think, the next morning. So we ate, we hit it off, and I invited her up to my room. She came up to my room. Now I had a bottle of something, I don't know what it was, but I poured each one of us a drink, and we sat there talking some more. When I figured I had her loosened up a little bit, I made my move. But she stopped me and she said, I can't. I have a flight I have to catch in the morning. I said, well, so do I. I mean, why do you think I'm here at the airport? She said, no, I can't really. And she got up and left. Now, when she came into my room, she had a room key in her hand, and she had set it on a dresser that was right to the left as soon as he walked in the room. When she left her room key sitting on a dresser. And I sat there and I didn't notice it for a couple of minutes. And when I did, I walked over there, picked up the room key, and I went to that room. I went looking for the room and I found it. I was going to knock on the door, but my instinct started to kick in, because one thing I've learned as a seaman, okay, is you never trust anybody in airports, train stations, bus stations, taxi cab any strange town, any strange place where there's a lot of foot traffic. No. So I didn't knock on the door. I went down to the hotel lobby, took the key, and I tried talking to the hotel clerk. And I was trying to quiz him. Did anybody come here telling you they lost their room key? And he said no. I said, you're sure? He said, yeah, I'm sure. Now, airport personnel, a lot of them you can't trust, because they're all running scams of their own. And I know that because I was friends with a few people that used to work at airports, and they told me about their scams. So I figured I knew I wasn't getting anywhere with him. So I pulled out the room key and gave it to him. I said, somebody left this in my room. And I went back to my room, went to sleep, flew back to Detroit the next morning, and that concluded my trip. And as a matter of fact, that was a round-the-world trip in 87 days, because I started out in Detroit, went to Maryland to school, went to New York, caught the Trans-Columbia, 2 trips to Europe, went through the Panama Canal, 1 trip to Asia and back to LA, and I took that other ship, that tanker, back around the globe into Houston, and flew right back to Detroit. You don't claim a round-the-world trip unless your feet land on the same latitude. Is it latitude or longitude? Well, the same place you started out at. So that was round-the-world trip number 2. Thanks for sticking with me, folks. I'm the Saipan Sailor. Clear skies and calm seas. And this was the final chapter 6 of the Tramp.